There's never been a better time to start watching college football than this weekend. With the Bears having 2 first-round picks for the first time in 20 plus years, I will be studying even more prospects than ever this season and into the off-season. The future is still very bright for the Chicago Bears. Having a young, talented roster with a ton of draft picks and cap space going forward, it's a great time to be a Bear fan, even if it doesn't feel like it as we sit here at 0-2 heading into Arrowhead. The season is far from over, but today is a big day for college football. There are 6 games featuring ranked versus ranked teams, battles between top 25 schools. There are 7 games featuring 2 unbeaten squads, with some huge matchups all day. Today I wanted to give you guys a guide to the biggest games and prospects to keep an eye on if you're going to watch some football on your Saturday. First, here's a look at the biggest games going on. There are even more, but these are the ones with the most NFL draft prospects and my picks for the best games to watch this weekend. At noon, I'll be rotating between Florida State and Clemson and Michigan and Rutgers. At 3:30, the big game for me is Colorado versus Oregon, but I'll also be watching UCLA, Utah, and maybe a little bit of Alabama and Ole Miss. There are 3 big games at 7:30 Eastern tonight. Texas taking on Baylor, Iowa versus Penn State, but the big one for me is Ohio State traveling to Notre Dame. I'm going to go over each of those games quickly here and tell you guys about some of the prospects to keep an eye on. Early on at noon Eastern, there are a few good games on. I'll have my eyes on Florida State against Clemson and Michigan taking on Rutgers. Michigan's QB J.J. McCarthy is worth getting to know. They also have another center that could get drafted next year in Drake Nugent. Blake Corum is their stud running back, and Chris Jenkins is a first-round prospect who's a freakish defensive lineman. Florida State features one of my favorite Bears draft targets, defensive end Jared Verse. If he keeps playing like he has, he's a lock to go in the top 10 next year. They also have a fun offense led by quarterback Jordan Travis. In the afternoon set of games, I will of course be watching the highly anticipated Colorado at Oregon. Coach Prime is without his two-way superstar Travis Hunter, who was injured on a late hit last week. You still have to root for these guys in what should be a shootout. Colorado's led by Deion's son, Shedeur Sanders. Meanwhile, Oregon also has a high-powered offense led by another QB on the NFL draft radar. That would be Bo Nix, and his top wideout, Troy Franklin, are the guys to watch on Oregon. This should be an exciting, high-scoring shootout. Playing at the same time, though, is UCLA at Utah, and I've really enjoyed watching UCLA's star pass rusher, Laiatu Latu. He's a guy I'm sure Ryan Poles has an eye on. He's looked dominant early in the season. He's the true star in this game and a guy that I'll be watching. But UCLA also has freshman quarterback who's been just remarkable through 3 games. Dante Moore is a name to get to know. Alabama at Ole Miss should also be a good one. Nick Saban hasn't figured out his quarterback situation yet, and it's kind of refreshing watching Alabama lose and not make the playoffs. There's still a lot of quality NFL talent in this matchup. Lane Kiffin in Ole Miss has a chance to be only the 4th Saban assistant to ever beat him head-to-head, but could also become the 2nd in just the last 3 weeks. Alabama's top NFL guys to watch are cornerback Kool-Aid McKinstry, pass rusher Dallas Turner, and offensive tackle J.C. Latham. The night games kick off at 7 p.m. Eastern with Oregon State at Washington State. Anyone who watched Justin Fields' documentary QB1 that was on Netflix a few years back might remember Oregon State QB DJ Uiagalelei. He was also on that show. That guy is still in college, while Fields is in his 3rd season in the NFL. Just for context, the big-time matchup of the day and the one that I'm most hyped for kicks off at 7:30 Eastern on NBC. That's Ohio State at Notre Dame. A clash of 2 top 10 teams with a ton of NFL talent. It's a battle between 2 teams that both want to make the college football playoffs, and the loser of this game is going to have a hard time getting back into playoff contention. Notre Dame hasn't beat Ohio State in 87 years. They are hyped up for this one. Ohio State's young quarterback Kyle McCord is surrounded by a ton of NFL talent on the roster. Ohio State again has 2 potential first-round picks at wideout, even after losing 3 first-round picks in the last 2 years with Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and JSN. They now have phenom Marvin Harrison Jr. and Emeka Egbuka. On top of that, they have a pair of stud pass rushers to look out for on the defensive side of the ball in Jack Sawyer and TJ Tuimoloau. On top of that, they have running back Trayvon Henderson and corner Denzel Burke, could both be early picks in the NFL draft as well. This game features a ton of talent in the trenches, as Notre Dame features 2 of the best offensive tackles in the entire nation, led by potential top 10 pick in next year's draft, left tackle Joe Alt. But they also have a very solid right tackle in Blake Fisher. I'll be watching Notre Dame's tackles and see how they hold up against Ohio State's pass rushers all game long. Notre Dame's center is also a late round prospect. But they have some playmakers on that offense with quarterback Sam Hartman and top wideout Lorenzo Styles, and a pair of good running backs. This is the game I'm most excited to watch. 2 teams I've watched most of my life with a ton of NFL talent, and both teams being ranked in the top 10. This is must-watch Saturday football. If you're like me, though, and have multiple screens or just don't want to watch the Ohio State-Notre Dame game, there are a couple more late options as well. Texas and Baylor should be a good one. I've enjoyed watching Texas this year. They beat Alabama earlier in the season, and they have stud wideout and possible Bears target next year, Xavier Worthy. And then Iowa at Penn State should be a good game too. I know a lot of Iowa and Iowa State fans, so I will be rooting for them, but Penn State has the players I'm interested in. They have studs in the trenches, starting with left tackle Olu Fashanu, who looks like a lock to go in the top 10 next year, and one of my favorite pass rushers in the entire draft, defensive end Chop Robinson. Gotta watch that guy. Not trying to overwhelm anyone, I just want to give you guys a guide of what to watch. The 2 biggest games in my opinion are Colorado at Oregon at 3:30 Eastern, and then Ohio State at Notre Dame at 7:30 Eastern. I don't expect anyone to keep up with all these players, but I know that some people are interested, and for those of you, this is a guide to what I'll be watching most today. College football is extremely fun and I enjoy watching it, but there are so many games and prospects out there that I get it can be a bit overwhelming for you guys, so I wanted to give you a guide if you wanted to watch football today. Thanks to everybody who watches the videos. Please hit that like button for me, and until next time, bear down.
Do right, Jay. Hey. Hey, good work today, baby. Let's keep going. Here we go. Bears on 3. 1, 2, 3.